Hi guys, I'm Stephen Edwards and I'm the Director of CTA Profit First Accountants. So just really want to talk a little bit about ourselves, talk about my journey with Profit First and also explain how we work with clients, how we work with business owners and a little bit about Profit First because it might potentially be new to you. I mean, Nigel is a huge fan of Profit First. If you've not read the book, I 100% recommend you go away and read it, but I'll give you a little bit of an overview how it all works in this short video. So a bit about the team. There's actually around 12 of us in total, but these are some of the key members that have been at CTA for a few years now. You can see me, Stephen Edwards, but just call me Steve. My role in the business tends to be leading the business from an operational perspective, but I also work very closely with clients with Profit First. So we do all the traditional accounting services you expect. I'm going to explain the different types of accountants in a second and how we work with people. But my role tends to be more profit first focused because I enjoy it. It excites me. It can make a big impact with people, and that's kind of my baby. So before we get into the detail of what Profit First is and how CTA work with business owners, I want to talk about the three types of accountant to avoid. You might have dealt with these accountants in the past. You might have an accountant like this at the moment. So I'm going to start with the bottom left corner, the missing accountant. So the missing accountant is someone who's so busy, they're kind of trying to do everything themselves. They don't necessarily have a team, or if they do have a team, that the team, they don't trust their team to kind of do a good job, that they become the bottleneck. And this type of accountant you can identify. They're very slow to reply to emails. They might not even reply to an email in the week. It might be taking over a week to reply to an email, at least several days, but over a week, even 2 weeks, I've seen in many cases. They don't return your phone calls, and you need to remind them to get things done. Quite simply, they've got too much paperwork on their desk, hypothetically too much paperwork, or too many things on their to-do list. They haven't really got time for you. The dinosaur accountant is an old school accountant that hasn't really moved ahead along with the times. They're not embracing technology. They were probably quite slow to move to the cloud, to move to things like Xero, QuickBooks. They're not really coming to you with new ideas to how to help you. It tends to be that if it's not broken, don't fix it. They tend to stick with that annual type service. There's not that kind of in-year partnership. So you can see themes of all of these. So you might have a hybrid accountant as all of these, but to kind of make it clear and explain it, I've talked about them as individuals. The worst one the worst trait in my experience is the box ticker accountant. So it might seem that you've got good value for money because you might not be paying a lot of money. Nigel says in the EC vote, when you go through clarity, a lot of people are not paying enough to get what they need from their accountant. And this box ticker accountant is the problem. It's a race to the bottom where they're doing the minimum, they're ticking the boxes, and you're getting no added value at all. So if you're an aspiring business, if you're a growing business, you're entrepreneurial, this is really the last type of accountant you want. So just really wanted to set the scene, the different types of accountants. Profit first. So you might have read the book. If you haven't read the book, go and do your homework. You can go onto our website. I think it's free stuff or profit tools. We'll click on that and I'll show you in a second here. So it's actually, I've been moving things around. It's under finance audit at the bottom because we're kind of redesigning our website. But if you click on finance audit, go to the bottom, you can get the first couple of chapters from Profit First completely free. So that'd be a good start. But to be honest, I would go and get the book. It's £20, but it might be one of the best £20 investments you've ever made in your business. I'm an accountant. I wish I read it earlier than I did actually read it. So just to kind of summarize what Profit First is about in a top level. So a lot of people, when they start a business, they are focused on their turnover because it's exciting. You're bringing the customers in, the money's coming through. Customers coming through the door, money's hitting your bank, and it's all about revenue. But at some point, if you're going to scale your business, you need to think of it differently. And often what happens is your revenue goes up like this, but your costs go up like that as well. If your revenue dips, it's hard to change your costs. So you're kind of stuck and your profit margins get squeezed. And being profitable is not about being greedy. It's about delivering on your terms. It's about being sustainable. It's about having the funds to be secure, to innovate, to reinvest in your business. So profit first reverses the formula. Instead of focusing on your revenue, we really focus on profit. So instead of revenue, sales minus expenses equals profit, the formula in our eyes is sales minus profit. So the money you need to deliver for yourself as the business owner then leaves you what you've got left to run your business as an overhead, as an expense. There are some nuances, I'm giving you an overview there, and you might be thinking that makes no sense. How can I do that? But that's why the system's so powerful. Is it is quite simple from a top level, but there's a lot of learnings along the way. It sort of changes your habit, changes your thinking. One of the big things with profit first is Parkinson's law. So the more you make available of something, the more you're going to use. So the bigger the supply is, the more the demand is for it in a lot of cases. So I like to talk about an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you've ever been to Bristol, there's a restaurant called Zazar Bazaars, or if you've been to something similar, you can eat as much as you want. You've got all these different cuisines. I don't know about you, but in my experience, most people eat way more when there's this abundance of food in front of them. And we tend to overeat, we overconsume, and there's waste. My kids are always leaving a plate half full because there's no limit to the amount of food they can eat. Whereas if I gave them one plate and said, that's your meal, they're probably going to eat it slower, and we're going to enjoy it, we're going to take our time, we're going to make it last. And it's the same idea with money in your business. If you just see one big pot of money, you're going to think you've got everything you need. But actually, when you split that money into smaller plates of food, and you say, here's a plate for my VAT, here's a plate for my tax, here's a plate for for my owner's pay to reward myself as an employee in my own business, here's a plate for extra profit set aside for my cost of sales. Everything you could possibly need in your business, we can create plates or practically different pots of money to run your business. That's kind of what Profit First is. I will share some stories now. So we've had the best financial periods in the last couple of years ever at CTA since we've embraced Profit First fully in our business. It's literally transformed our profits and also our cash. We've also worked recently, and I've worked with more clients than this, but these are two of the stories that kind of come to mind. With a client that runs a HR business, and due to the conversations we had about Profit First, he's actually changed the structure of his business. Bear in mind, this is a HR business. Their job is about structuring team structures and the team dynamic. We helped that business change their own team structure to identify, I think it's around £7,000 a month of savings, because Profit First painted a very clear picture that the numbers were not working as it was. We also had a jewellery business that's made some major changes to the business to save £200,000 per annum. You might be thinking, my business is not this big. You might be a 50, 60, 100k turnover business, whatever it means for you, but the impact can still be huge. If you're making £30,000 profit, it's not crazy for us to be aiming for £50,000 profit. So, a 66% increase in your profit. That's some of the numbers that we typically aim for on Profit First, but I will share a bit about that more about that in a second. So as I mentioned, CTA work with clients a slightly different way from a normal accountant, particularly the three accountants I talked about a second ago: the missing accountant, the dinosaur accountant, and the box ticker. So we really start where most accountants are finishing, or where most accountants cannot move beyond, or they don't know how to move beyond. So number one, we've created this concept ourselves. There's nobody else's terminology. It's just in our and my experience. Number one is the foundations. It's kind of the essentials you expect from an accountant, but also the essentials you need in your business to run a successful business. And you need strong financial foundations. So within number one, the typical services is someone being your accountant. So that's someone you can pick up the phone, so you can email, someone who can give you that kind of tax advice, all the stuff you're probably getting already. Hopefully they're taking quicker than a week to get back to you. The kind of next level is your finance department. So as Nigel says, you've got £10 an hour tasks, £100 an hour tasks, and £1,000 an hour tasks, and even £10,000 an hour tasks. If you are doing your own bookkeeping, it's probably not the best use of your time. So we call ourselves, we're like an extension to your finance department, with your outsourced finance team. We take away the bookkeeping for a lot of our clients and we help you scale and grow your business. So if you're doing your own bookkeeping, that's a big area we can help you with. And we use typically Xero to do the bookkeeping in-house. We work with any system if you do your own bookkeeping. So a lot of people like QuickBooks, Sage, etc. But if we do the bookkeeping, we tend to do it on Xero, and you can get monthly reports off the back of that. As part of our bookkeeping service, you can get a feel for where your numbers are. Moving on beyond the foundations, as I said, a lot of businesses do not move to the next stage of understanding their numbers, is really working with people closer. So that regardless of the service, regardless whether it's profit first, whether it's having management accounts meetings, whether we're like your finance director, whatever you want to call it, it's to improve your profit. Let's not beat around the bush. We're trying to rinse the towel. We're trying to optimize your business. We're trying to build on those foundations and increase your profit and increase your cash. And the way we do that is really as a profit advisor, which is where Profit First comes in, or more of a business partner if you want a bit more accountability and you kind of want that FD level service, someone to kind of challenge the numbers a bit closer. So Profit First is a big part of the profit improvement service that we offer. And what that looks like practically, it tends to be either monthly or quarterly meetings, depending on your needs and your budget and where you are in your journey. If you've got the foundations, if you're making more profit, you're going to have more tax. And so what we really want to do is we want to make every pound of your earnings work a lot harder for you in terms of your wealth and your family and your long-term goals. So your long-term plans are very important here when it comes to wealth maximization. There's two ways to do this. One is to do a deeper tax review. So not this kind of box ticking tax at the end of the year to say, here you go, here's your corporation tax, this is what you need to pay. By the way, it's due next month, or it's due in a few weeks' time. So we have what we call a tax MOT, where we do a deeper analysis and we literally look at your whole situation. We look at what are your financial plans? What's your next big purchase? Is it to move to a bigger house? Is it to buy a second property? Is it to have a certain amount in your pension? Whatever it means to you, your terms is very linked into how we see the wealth maximization, because ultimately the business needs to deliver that financially. And we're not financial advisors, but we really recommend you have some financial guidance. So that's why I've got your financial advisor there, so we can point you in the right direction to make sure if you're making lots of profits, what you're going to do with it, how can you make that turn into more money in the future. So that's the main ways we work with people. Here's an example of a smaller business, below £250,000 turnover, because we work businesses all shapes and sizes. There's no kind of minimum size business we work with. Our ideal client is someone who wants to grow their business. So it doesn't matter where you are. You could just be starting out, but if you're aspiring, you want to grow your business and you want to go on a journey, that's our ideal sort of partnership. That's where we can add a lot of value. In this example, this business had a revenue of 167,000. They had cost of sales, direct cost of 82,000. So they had you might look at that as a gross profit. In Profit First, we call this real revenue of 85,000. And the owner's pay, so the money left to pay the owners, only £18,000. So out of 167, they've only got £18,000, and the operating expenses was 67. And you can see the percentages on the right. That there's a few the percentages don't quite add up, I've noticed on this slide. But the gist of it is that actually the tax would be 0% because it's nothing. But the gist of it is the owner's pay is a tiny proportion of the £85,000. So you're looking at around 20% of the £85,000. With Profit First, we would be aiming to work towards 50% owner's pay in this example of the £85,000, which would be £42,500. So that would be what we'd be aiming as owner's pay. And you might think, wow, how are we going to do that? We're not Harry Potter. We haven't got a magic wand. How are we going to just unlock all this extra profit? It's a bit like getting in shape at the gym. First you need to know where you are, point A. So you need to know how much weight you need to lose, maybe, or how much muscle you need to put on. You need to look at point B, what's the ideal situation. We look at the gap, and then we put milestones in place to work towards that gap. So we put a quarterly plan together to help you bridge that gap that is very achievable. Virtually 99% of businesses that operate profit first do improve their situation. So these are not made up numbers. These are real numbers that do work for a lot of people. But it's not a quick fix in a few weeks, but this is definitely the sort of numbers we see on the table. So in this business, we'd be looking at the bottom right corner overall to increase their profit by 41,500, and in the first year of working with this client, we'd probably be targeting around 32,500. So this is called a profit assessment. I've called it a profit leak. If you want to know how much is on the table in your business, more than happy to run through this exercise. What I do is I go back and I look at your financials for the last 2 years. I measure it against profit first benchmarks. I look at your industry. I use my experience. I see what's achievable, and often it does create a domino effect of your thinking to start changing your direction. If you can make a 1%, a 5% shift in your direction now, in 1,000 miles, you're in a completely different destination. So I'm more than happy to do that for you, complete free of charge. Just drop me an email. Or book a meeting, as it says on this slide, and we can talk about your numbers. That's pretty much it, guys. So if you've got any questions, as I said, get in touch, book a meeting here, or you can email me. It's Stephen with a PH at cheltenhamtaxaccountants.co.uk. No hyphen if you email me, it's just cheltenhamtaxaccountants.co.uk. But this is the website link if you do want to book a meeting to have a longer chat with me. Thanks, guys. Cheers.